Welcome everyone to the FCAN webinar, Unite Miami, Wraparound Support for Youth in Foster Care or Experiencing Homelessness. I'm your host today, Kathy McDonald, Assistant Director for Network Partnerships with the Florida College Access Network. A few housekeeping items before we get started today. Please submit your questions in the question box in your dashboard. You should see that on the right side of your screen. If you're not seeing that, click on the orange rectangle that has an arrow in that will open up your dashboard and you can enter questions into the box. We are all about learning together, so please let us know what's on your mind and we'll make sure to get your questions answered. Second, please share what's resonating with you on social media. We love to hear what people are taking away from the webinars. You can find FCAN on Twitter at FL College Access, and you can find our presentation partners Educate Tomorrow at Educate Tomorrow. Please use the hashtag FCAN so we can find you. And then finally, this webinar is being recorded. All materials will be sent to registrants and will be available on our past webinar page on our website for those who want to reference it later. I am so excited to welcome on our webinar today guest presenter, Dr. Amy Rubinson. She is the Chief Program Officer and Care Coordination Manager for Educate Tomorrow, one of our dear partners. Dr. Rubinson is a scholarly practitioner who has worked as a formal educator, a program director, and a school board chair. At Educate Tomorrow, Dr. Rubinson directs the programming and grant reporting, conducts internal evaluations on programming, and promotes research opportunities. She completed her PhD in education from Colorado State University, her Master's of Science in Community and Social Change from the University of Miami, and her Bachelor's in Biology from Emory University. I am also thrilled to welcome on our call today guest presenter Andrea Arachea. Andrea was born and raised in Miami-Dade County and is of Cuban and Dominican descent. Andrea has an AA in music education from Miami-Dade College, a BA in criminology, and a BA in sociology from the University of South Florida. She holds an MS in higher education administration with certificates in student life and development and enrollment management from the University of Miami. Andrea has case management experience in the child welfare system and is an advocate for the improvement of the foster care system nationwide. Now, I know we have some folks on the webinar today who may be new to our work. So to give you the 10,000-foot view of what FCAN is, our mission is to lead the collaborative movement to ensure every Floridian achieves an education beyond high school and a rewarding career. Our vision is to see a Florida working together where education is the pathway to economic mobility for all. We do our work in three primary ways. The first is through our local college access networks that represent 82% of the state's population. These organizations are made up of community leaders who come together to create solutions and partnerships to support local talent development. The second way is through FCAN, FCAN publishes research and data on evidence-based practices and policy opportunities to strengthen Florida's talent pool. And finally, FCAN coordinates 4 College Ready Florida initiatives that support students in continuing their education after high school. Our work is guided by our 7 conditions for success, which you can find out more about on our website. Today's webinar provides great examples of many of these conditions, particularly opportunity for everyone and community collaboration. So with that, let me set us up for our topic today. Let me give you a little bit of background on the landscape of students who are homeless or in the foster care system in Florida. According to the 2019 annual report by the Florida Council of Homeless, 3.1% of Florida students are homeless, or nearly 96,000 students. Of those students, almost 8,000 or 8.2% were unaccompanied youth. The good news is that within the last year, the number of people experiencing homelessness in Florida decreased by almost 4% since the prior year and by 20% since 2015. So we've made some real progress in the state, though these numbers were pre-COVID-19, and we're not quite sure what impact the pandemic is going to have. But the 2019 Schimberg rental market study found that the number of cost-burdened renters increased by nearly 500,000 between 2000 and 2019. So affordable housing continues to be a huge challenge for the state. If you are interested in your own county's numbers, you can find those numbers in the report that's referenced on the slide in front of you. Over 24,000 Florida children are in foster care, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Obviously, our work here is to try and help every student build a brighter future and be prepared and succeed in college. So how did we do on that front? Well, Dr. Rubinson was the lead author of a report that was put out in 2019 by the Helios Education Foundation that found that nearly 3,900 students used the DCF tuition and fee exemptions at Florida college institutions in the 2016-2017 school year. The state continues to make progress helping more former foster youth enter college. Degree attainment still lags, though, with only 115 of these students in the 16-17 year earning an associate's degree. And on the state university front, the same report found that 901 students used the DCF tuition and fee exemptions at state university system institutions in 2017, which was up from 338 students in 2011. The state also continues to make progress here, though degree attainment is still lagging. Only 94 of these students in the 2015-2016 earned a bachelor's degree. So part of what helps students become ready and gives them the opportunity to succeed in college is really putting together robust wraparound support, which is why I'm so excited to welcome on our call today our friends from Educate Tomorrow, who have put together an amazing collaboration with other agencies in their region. And they're going to not only share their experiences of what has made that collaboration work, but also they're going to give us some insights into what has become the emerging needs of our foster care students and our homeless students with COVID-19 kind of exacerbating some of these challenges. So with that, I am so pleased and excited to welcome Amy and Andrea. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I hope to be as well versed as you. Thank you, everyone who's on the call. As mentioned, my name is Andrea Rechea. I am one of the care coordinators at Educate Tomorrow, and I am here with Dr. Amy Rubinson, who is the care coordinator manager at Educate Tomorrow and our chief programming officer. So yeah, Unite Miami. Let's go into our collaborative efforts in Miami-Dade County. So what Unite Miami is, it's a collaborative throughout Miami-Dade County between 6 different organizations. And so Educate Tomorrow serves as the backbone organization in this initiative. And so this initiative is actually funded through the Children's Trust of Miami-Dade County. And so how Unite Miami has evolved throughout the last couple of years. It's been a challenge, a struggle, an adventure. So first off, it started with the idea that more community organizations needed to speak to each other in order to serve this population. You had different entities working in different silos, and so Unite Miami brings these parties together so that they can provide clear care coordination, so that the students can receive supports holistically, so not just academically, legal, housing wise, but as a collaborative effort. And so some of the things that we started asking ourselves throughout this grant is, how will we identify these students? So we went in, we didn't really have a solid plan. We went in with our connections, we went in with our allies, but then the questions were, okay, so how are we going to identify these students? Where is the need? Miami-Dade County is a very large county. Where are we going to find these students? And so year one pretty much started out that phase where we had conversations with our partners to discuss Okay, so what's the primary need that your students are going through? Is it housing? Like, what are their academics looking like? Are they involved with the courts? How long have they been involved with the courts? Are they, looking at the age ranges? And so that kind of pushed us into year two, where it's like, okay, we know that we're providing services for our students. We have legal representation, we have access to housing supports, we have access to academic supports, but then it's like, okay, how are the services being provided? Who's, can all the students benefit from these services? If not, how can we find different organizations that provide similar services in different parts of the county? Because again, Miami-Dade County is a very large county. And then rolling on to year three, okay, so we're identifying where the need is, what the need is. Okay, so are those services actually being provided? Because we really wanted to hold ourselves accountable and hold a high level of integrity, because we can say, okay, we work with X, our organization A, B, C, D, but are we guaranteeing that our students are receiving the supports that they need? And that morphed into year four, and now in the time of COVID, even more so, where we're analyzing our student progress academically. We're making sure that they're stable, their housing is stable. If they need legal supports, if they need, life skills training, financial training, access to our college coaches at Miami-Dade College. And so that's the evolution. Pretty much every year has informed the previous year. And so really making sure that our students, the services are being met, that we're being consistent with the supports that are being provided to our students, and that we're communicating, collaborating holistically with our partners. Next slide, Kathy, please. And so who are Unite Miami partners? We have Casa Valentina, which is a transitional youth home in Miami-Dade County, but they also provide life skills training. And so they actually went into the schools to provide that life skills training. Florida International University's Education Effect, we had, oh, I apologize. There was actually a poll in that first slide. Let's see. I will never take newscasters for granted ever again.
Sorry about that. I think I accidentally closed it too soon. So if you don't mind, we are gonna scoot that along. I accidentally hit it twice. So next one.
Okay. And so we're Unite Miami partners. So Casa Valentina provides life skills trainings to the students that were part of the Florida National University Education Effect, where there were three feeder schools that are being served. And so through that collaborative, we were able to provide consistent life skills trainings in the school, so that we didn't really have to worry about transportation, locations, and anything like that. So Citrus, which is Citrus Family Health Network, Citrus Family Care Network, I'm sorry, which formerly Our Kids of Miami-Dade and Monroe County. We have an MOU with them to receive names of the students that are currently in foster care who have current open DCF cases. And so with this list, we were able to determine where the high needs are. And there are clusters of students in different locations in Miami-Dade County. And so we were able to focus our efforts in these different locations. Through Miami-Dade County Public Schools, we have a very strong partnership with Project Upstart. So Project Upstart is a Title I organization that assists youth that are struggling with housing insecurity in Miami-Dade County. And so with this collaborative, we're also able to identify these students in their schools, and looking at the numbers from Citrus and looking at the numbers at Upstart, and surprisingly enough, but not really surprising, they're very consistent in where the clusters of students are located, further north or further south in Miami-Dade County. Florida Foster Care Review, which provides permanency roundtables and youth-centered roundtables, so that they focus on the permanency of the child, so they can establish permanent connections. The Disability Independence Group are basically our guru, advocates on disabilities, and so we really want to ask the questions on how our students are being served, because we know that youth that end up in foster care are more than likely to have some sort of emotional disability, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress. So are these students, do they have individual education plans, IEPs, or 504 plans through the schools? Are they receiving the services that they need, especially in this time of COVID? Is somebody laying eyes on them? Are they, they still need therapy, even more so now. They still need their behavioral therapy. They still need, and any type of therapies that have been identified. And so, Disabilities Independence Group, we are hosting virtual help desks so that we know what questions to ask and the questions that our partners should be asking to find out more about their families. Lawyers for Children. All of our students that are in foster care, especially, have some sort of court case open. They don't know all the legal happenings that are happening in the court. So attorney ad litems are very important. Attorney ad litems and guardian ad litems, these are two extremely important advocates that our students must have. And so through our partnerships with the GAL program and Lawyers for Children, we ensure that all of our students have some sort of legal representation and they have a guardian ad litem with them so that they're not alone when court approaches. Okay, Kathy. All right, so here are some examples on the different arenas that we look at. So as I mentioned before, there's academics, legal, housing. There's also emergency funding that's tied to the Children's Trust Grant, special needs, and so some of our programming includes in-person. Before we had in-person lunch and learns, but we actually shifted fairly quickly in this time. So now we have virtual lunch and learns, and we're seeing that our college students especially are very open to this type of programming because unfortunately they're typically by themselves, they don't have family, and so this is an opportunity for them to socialize in some shape or form. We also are very big on one-on-one. We have programming, we have group facilitated programming, but we know how important it is to establish that trust with our students. These are students that have been traumatized, whether they're struggling with housing insecurity or they're in the DCF system. They've been traumatized. They don't necessarily want to broadcast their stories. And so it's important to establish that communication and give them that platform so that they can have a moment to speak out on, things that are concerning them. They might not necessarily want everybody to know that they have financial hardship, housing hardship. So we really still have that one-on-one care coordination communication with our students. Our mentoring kind of shifted throughout the years. So we were very highly involved with volunteer mentors at the beginning, but now we're moving closer to a professional mentoring program. And so with our care coordinators, we still provide mentoring and, like I said, that one-on-one with our students so that they have support within the community. And so this slide has a poll, so let's not miss this.
Yes, let's actually fire it this time, and I will try to not hit it too fast so people have an opportunity to vote this time. So if you all can let us know, how are you supporting? What types of supports would you provide to your service recipients? So you've got several choices there: academic and professional, legal support and advocacy, housing and emergency needs, and then individualized mentoring and coaching or other. And if you have another that we don't have listed, please feel free to put that in the question box so we learn how you all are supporting folks. Let's give that another few seconds, give people a chance to vote here. Okay, lots of votes coming in. Okay, one more second. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. Get your votes in. Okay, let's go ahead and close that out and then let me share the results with you all. So as you can see, 76%, so the majority are academic and professional development, and then also with more than 2/3 individualized mentoring and coaching, and the others are quite a bit less, a little over 1/3 housing and emergency needs. So great. Any surprises there, Amy and Andrea?
I would like to know what the other what other services are being provided, just so that, because we try to figure out the different supports within the community. Like some of the stuff that are not mentioned here we also look for enriching programs like, music programs or extracurricular activities that the students can tap into so that they, develop those people skills, that socialization, the discipline, and so that, and also to build their resume so that they can be well-rounded students when they apply to college. So there are other little things that we look at to help really enhance the student's academic experience. So if you have others, we would love to know what the others are.
Okay, great idea. So folks, for those of you who answered other, if you wouldn't mind putting your other ideas in the question box, that would be great. And we can go ahead and share those out when we're getting a Q&A. So with that, let me move us along to the next slide.
Okay, so here, these are our numbers that we pulled earlier on this year. Through this grant, our fiscal year actually starts August 1st, so these numbers were actually pulled in January. And there's no surprise, the bulk of the students that we work with are Black youth, Black and Brown youth. We find that more of the female students tend to tap into the services, but that doesn't by any shape or mean that male students aren't, in need of the services. Boys are just, harder to crack. I'd say they express. It's harder for them to express their emotions because of all the different stereotypes and all the negative um, connotations with exposing, showing your emotions. Um, the majority of our students, and like I said before, a lot of the works that we've been doing in later years have been informed by some of the challenges that we've identified in previous years. Most of our students were not in foster care or experiencing housing insecurity, but they were definitely at risk of falling into these categories. And so through our partnerships, we're identifying more and more students that we can work with that are struggling with housing insecurity, like right now, or students that are currently in foster care. But we definitely, a lot of these populations were from the Liberty City, Little Haiti areas where, gentrification is hitting hard. And so a lot of our students are now, if they haven't experienced housing insecurity, they're experiencing it now. And yeah, we're really, and I think it's important to state that we're really trying to look with an equity lens because we work with so many Black and Brown students. A lot of these students are unaccompanied. A lot of these students are aging out of foster care. A lot of them are aging out with relative and non-relative care. So we want to make sure that they have all the support needed, whether it's helping them navigate through their PES funds, so the funding that they receive after they age out, their DCF waiver. What does housing look like? Some of these students haven't had stable housing if they're for their entire lives. So we really want to make sure that we look at it with an equity lens and provide them with what they need and the support that they need so that they can continue living their lives in a happy way.
Great. And Andrea, some of the responses we've gotten are food pantries at their college, free student passes, bus passes, um, let's see, financial aid office. So sometimes they hear about specific needs, when they're working with students during that piece. So sometimes they get some additional ideas. So free tax preparation. So connecting them with those VITA volunteers is a great opportunity. Daytona State College, as we know, our friends there just, meet so many needs. The snacks on the go, the bus passes, food pantry, clothes closet. And then we've seen some other folks offering parenting classes and career support. So some great examples through the question box.
Nice. Yes. Our student bus passes. Our students definitely also take advantage of those bus passes, and the food pantries on campus are so valuable. Some of our college coaches even, try to collect diapers. We have a relationship with our local diaper bank as well. So we have, student parents, and we're really just trying to make sure that that cycle doesn't continue. And then, they're in school, they're working, and making sure that their families are taken care of because diapers are not cheap. I learned that working in early childhood. I didn't realize how expensive they were. Okay, next slide, Kathy. So our approach, so you would think that student focused is the standard. It really isn't. The student is usually and especially in child welfare, the student is usually the last person to be asked of their opinions, of their wants, of their feelings. And so we really want to make sure that when we do, especially when we do the intake, the first questions we ask is, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? A lot of the times we get oh, I want to become a rapper, I want to do this, that, and the other. We don't tell students that it's impossible for them to achieve that dream. We definitely tell them that, okay, so with that dream, we want to have a practical backup just in case, because, you might become a platinum, rap star. We don't know. But we want to make sure that we get that information from the student. We know that they have, years of trauma on them. So we really try to be very empathetic, but giving them the opportunity to tell us, because they're the experts in their life at the end of the day. So we're there to learn about their life, their experiences, and what they want to do, and how our resources can better guide them to that future. And so throughout the years, we see them developing their own beliefs. So that self-authorship, they look back, they challenge the beliefs that they've been instilled in them, like, oh, you're just a foster kid, you're just this and the other. But then they start challenging that, and they start creating their own self-efficacy, and they start advocating for themselves. And that appreciative advising component as well. Not everything, like if you get a failing grade, that's not necessarily, yeah, it sucks that you have a failing grade, but then also look at the amazing things that you're doing you just got a job, you passed all your other classes, you're putting food on the table. There are many things that go with appreciative advising, and not just looking at the negative, because people can focus on the negatives. You notice that you have more negative adjectives than you do positives. It's very easy to focus on the negatives. And so we really make sure that we are strength based as well, and making sure that our students know that they are doing it, they're kicking butt, and they're accomplishing amazing things, or they have the capability of accomplishing amazing things. So Hazel's story. Hazel happens to be one of our mentees that's been with our program for several years now. She actually came in as a summer camper. She was about to become a sophomore. She actually came in to Educate Tomorrow having 0 credits as a freshman. And because she has that motivation, she actually put herself through summer school and night school at the same time to catch up with all of her credits, so that she can move accordingly with her sophomore class. And so throughout all of this, she's like, okay, I want to do summer camp. Okay, so here we go, the college experience. And so with that connection, Hazel, was tapping into our community. She was seeing she was working with our different care coordinators. And so we were able to help Hazel connect to different programming. And so funny enough, Hazel was in the process of getting some legal support. And because we have this Unite Miami grant, we were able to identify that she was getting services from multiple partners. And so what we did was we made sure that process was kind of streamlined, so that, okay, so that Florida Foster Care Review knows that she's going through this. Lawyers for Children knows that she's going through that. And so they're working collaboratively to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and you're not asking the same questions, and you're not, doing double work. So that was the biggest thing about that collaborative. It wasn't just the academic programming that she was getting on our end, but making sure that her permanent connections and her legal supports were intact and working, because there were a couple of challenges she was going through. So working on that simultaneously, she was just able to focus on school. And so throughout the years, she's growing, year passed, 2 years passed. And so she got connected to the Florida Youth Leadership Academy. And through this, she actually became my mentee through FYLA, and she participated in different professional development programming. She socialized with folks outside of Miami-Dade County. These are, youth and foster care throughout the state. She was able to experience new people, a new experience, going camping, going to Tallahassee, going on college tours, opening, new lenses, seeing new perspectives. And she also went on our Educate Tomorrow college tour. So this girl literally has seen every major college in the state of Florida for free, because, and we were providing the support to her. She was in foster care for 8 years. And so we were making sure that she had these experiences, so that she knew that she had options after she graduated from high school. And so Hazel actually just graduated from high school, class of 2020. Unfortunately, because of COVID, she didn't have, there was no senior trip, there was no senior picnic, there was no prom, there was no walking across the stage. But she's so proud of what she's accomplished and what she's done, and we're extremely proud for her. This is her third, going on fourth year as a part of the Unite Miami collaborative, and she's just flourishing. She's a college freshman. She's about to start taking summer classes right now, where you have a student who had 0 credits as a high school freshman couple years forward and you're a college freshman, wanting to get into the law enforcement academy. And the thing is, though, is because of our collaboratives, we have college coaches at Miami-Dade College where she can literally, it's like, I need help with FAFSA. I need help with financial aid. Okay, done, 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 done. We have experts on campus that can help her navigate, and also English is not even her first language. So she's also having to translate all of this into Spanish and just like, okay, I have no idea what's going on. So empowering her to speak, empowering her to reach out to the college coaches, empowering her to just like ask questions, and we're there to help her. And then also because of her experiences, we had through the AOK Scholar, so the AOK Scholar Program, funded through the Lawrence E. White Foundation. She's actually one of our pre-AOK students. So this is a girl who's completely ambitious, and she had all of these supports, and she had community organizations working together. And now, she's gone from 0 credits as a high school freshman to I'm about to, I'm on a pre-AOK scholar program. I'm enrolled in college. I'm taking college credits. So this is really remarkable for someone who spent 8 years in foster care. And we all know that experiences for teenagers in foster care are hit or miss. And unfortunately, a lot of the times they're a miss. So being able to do this for her, and not only her, we have several students that are, went through the same paths. They either went on our college tour, they participated in summer programming, or they're receiving supports through our partners and our inner collaborative. So it's, this partnership really provided all the supports that she needs to get her where she wants to go. And now I will be passing it on to Dr. Amy Rubenson.
Thanks, Andrea. Awesome. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about just some of the structural characteristics of our collaboration, and then we'll get into our needs during the COVID time. So really, our partnership is guided by the collective impact theory, but it's really guided from a student perspective. And as Andrea mentioned, like really the student is truly at the center of our process and all of our collaboration work. And the collective impact theory is a lot of how we've built the trust and built the structure of our collaboration and our organization in general. So one of the main aspects of that is that there is a backbone organization that supports and kind of leads the collaboration of organizations. So Educate Tomorrow serves as that backbone organization. Some of the reasons that Educate Tomorrow is a really good fit for the backbone organization is because we are a nonprofit organization, and so that gives us a lot more flexibility in terms of who we're able to serve and in what ways we're able to serve students. So colleges, obviously, you can only serve college students. The public school system can only serve the K through 12 students, but who can support students between the transition to really make this collaboration effective? You need an organization that doesn't have those kinds of restrictions. Additionally, it's really important that your collaboration has some funding to back it. We're all so busy, and especially during this time of COVID, no one wants to be on any more Zoom calls or, commit to anything new because we just have no idea where the future is headed. And so unfortunately, money is a big motivator, or maybe that's fortunately, but it works, and we've been really blessed to have some substantial funding. It's almost $800,000 from our local Children's Trust Fund. And the majority of that goes into partner organizations. So about $200,000 stays internal for staff positions that Educate Tomorrow, and the rest of it is out in the community supporting our partner organizations. So we really focused a lot of our funding on the support that we invested our money where our mouth is. If we're asking you to commit, we're going to give you something that makes it worth committing. Of course, beyond the money is the relationships in general. We came into this grant process with all of our partners. I know some of them are on the line now, so thank you guys for being here and supporting us, from before day one, and continuing to support us and grow with us as we grow this collaboration. Really, those relationships have been essential in terms of advocating for us when the funders had questions about our collaboration. They've been essential in terms of building our partnerships and helping us identify our students. And they've been essential in terms of providing support for our students, of course. I mentioned already that we don't have limits on our client population, so that makes us a really strong, in a strong position to be the backbone organization. And then one of the other characteristics of the collaborative impact or collective impact theory is that you have a unified way of data collection and conversation. So we have at Educate Tomorrow, we have an app that we use to collect data for our participants and participant engagements. It's pretty easy. You can just, it's free to download, and it's very easy to access and to maneuver around. So we use that to collect data. And then, of course, we have, MOUs and legal documents that back our ability to share data with our partners. Next we have youth and alumni who are represented in our leadership. As I mentioned before, it's very much student focused, all of our work. So we make an intentional effort to include our students and alumni of our programs in all of our work and any kind of leadership decisions. And then the last point on there is that we have an innovative environment. And Educate Tomorrow is truly, there's nothing, you never have the same day at Educate Tomorrow. And it's really a beautiful thing because we're always continuing to grow and to learn with our community and based on what the community needs. I know it can create some instability for people, but as long as we keep those strong relationships and we have the trust in each other, then we're able to move through those transitions really in a fluid way. So with that, there is a poll on this page. Thanks, Kathy. We're asking about funders and partners who could join in this initiative. As we discuss it, do you have a funder who might be open to thinking about funding something innovative like this? And who would be the partners, or do you have partners in mind that you could bring to the table for this? So I'm just curious to know kind of what position are you in? Are you ready to take this on, not quite ready, or not really sure?
Okay, folks, now is the time for you all to share your ideas. So do you have a funder and partners already in mind and in place? It's looking like right now the lead is, I'm not sure about a funder, but have strong partners, which is probably what I would have suspected. But and then we have some folks. I do not have a funder or partners in mind, so they're in that exploratory phase. So skip that. Okay, it looks like voting has slowed down. So let me go ahead and close that out and share that with you all. So again, yeah, as you can see, not sure about a funder, but have strong partnerships, and that I would expect because they probably have been working with some partners already in some of that work, but maybe exploring how to kind of take it to the next level.
Great. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Kathy, and thanks everyone for participating in that. That is what I'd expect too. And our local Children's Trust is the funder that's supported by our taxes in Miami. And so really it's going to be a lot of the local foundations, I think, that you'll have success in building these collaborations with. And if your local trust is not doing it, make the suggestion, and we would be happy to be, an advocate for you in providing data or, supporting you in advocating for that of your trust agency or, whoever manages your property taxes, or anyone else, any private foundations, I think will be open to this collaborative work. Awesome. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. Cool. So then here we're going to talk about challenges. Of course, collaborative work is hard, right? It's always, you know, I often hear people when you get frustrated, I'll just do it myself. Okay, that's always, you know, like the easy thing to back down to. Fine, I'll just do it myself. But really, the collaborative work makes you so much stronger. And it's, if you are able to find solid partnerships, then it really results in a strong situation, like Hazel's situation. You know, if Educate Tomorrow was on our own with that, we would have never been able to support her with those legal needs that she had. And the permanency roundtable that she was a part of is a huge, important part in terms of her building herself. And so those are really valuable things that have been contributed by our partners. And then too, you know, the leadership development skills that she got and the emergency funding that she'll get from AOK, those are really valuable things that we don't necessarily have the bandwidth to provide. So we reach out to our partners to provide them. And I think especially too during our time of COVID, we need to be really strategic about how we're, you know, using our money and using our resources. Because we're all in a heightened time of stress, as we'll get into in a minute. But, you know, I think I really encourage everyone to think creatively. So as you're doing that, though, you know, one of the hardest things is that your mission and activities have to reinforce each other. So you want to make sure that what you're doing is supporting all of your partner organizations. Instead, you know, if your partner organization is building blocks and you're here cleaning up the dirt underneath, it's going to work against each other. So you want to make sure that they're mutually reinforcing. Also, I mentioned before having accurate and confidential ways of collecting data. This is super important. How are you going to keep each other accountable? You know, ultimately it goes down to the data, and your funder is going to want to know what good is this work? Are we, you know, doing something that's effective? So that can be a really big challenge because you have to develop a system that works for every organization, and every organization has a different process, you know, that they already use to collect their data. So it has to be, you know, an easy system. It has to be accessible, and it has to have all the, you know, the right questions and data fields for every organization for it to be beneficial. And then, of course, there's funding. You know, we talked about that. It's hard to get people engaged if they're not going to have finances. And then developing trusted relationships with your partners. You have to really build those relationships in order to connect with people and have effective work. And then lastly, having time to collaborate and talk about, you know, the work that you're doing. Next slide, Kathy. So the next slide, we're going to get into the survey that we did, which was a needs assessment during COVID, just to understand, you know, what's going on in our community and how are they experiencing all of this that's going on. So we had almost 200 respondents throughout the state of Florida. 67% of those were college and university students, and 6% of those were parents. We can go to the next slide. So the order of priorities, we asked a question about what are your priorities before and after COVID? The order of priorities has really remained the same, that, you know, schooling is number one, staying healthy is number two, and then working or finding a job is number three. And it goes on from there. But you can see the orange bars show that there is a heightened sense of urgency around those priorities right now. So I think probably all of us have experienced it. You know, people are on edge right now, and so the evidence is in the data. It's reflected there. So we need to be gentle with each other, and, you know, stay healthy, both mind and body. So self-care, you know, is very important during this time. Go ahead, Kathy. The next one talks about employment and how people's jobs have been affected, and over half have had their wages impacted either temporarily or permanently. And we can go to the next. And that's either through being furloughed, their wages cut, or just being totally laid off. And then this I thought was interesting, some comparisons between university and college students. More university students were compared with their schooling in general compared to college students. More college students prioritized, and worried about finding a job. And more university students, though, had their employment affected by COVID. So, just some key takeaways to think about how to address your population based on who you're serving. We can go to the next one. And this next one talks about the supports related to educational needs. Specifically, they're worried about the expenses, and that makes sense. We've had a lot of loss in finances, and then study skills have been really hard. Transitioning to online has been difficult for a lot of students. What I've heard over and over is, I didn't sign up for online classes. Why am I in online classes now? So be considerate and think about our kids during that situation, and how can we support them as student support professionals. Go ahead, Kathy. The next slide is talking about just in general, what needs have become stronger in this time, both comparing what people think for themselves and both for their friends. Household supplies, people have been worried about maintaining their house. Cleaning supplies, like having enough to do in the house. Food, they're worried about that. And then also comes employment and emotional stability. So we're really seeing a similar trend over and over, that it's, concern about the expenses and how they're getting the money, how the money's being spent, and the emotional health. Go on, Kathy. And then our next slide shows how we have spent money over the past month, from March, well, really starting in February until mid-April. During that time, we spent a significant amount of money on this is for our AOK students who've been receiving emergency supports from us. So the most money has really gone to housing supports. More than 54% has gone to that. And then again, the same trend, the second priority has gone to educational fees, where we have 34%. And then in our next slide, just to talk a little bit about what we've been doing to support our students during this time. We have 9 different, now we have 12. Starting this week, I should have updated this slide this week. We have 12 workshops, because we have 3 additional ones that aren't listed here for our high school students. And so they're meeting 3 times a week for the next 7 weeks in a summer program. And then we have 3 lunch and learns that Andrea mentioned, which are for our college students, meeting regularly to talk about, current issues. And then we have an open time for students to jump on and talk about whatever's on their mind 3 times a week that Andrea leads. And then we also have our P3 Women's Development Workshop, which is happening on a daily basis. And they do an internal dive to really deal with the trauma and the things that make leadership hard. And then they also do an executive internship with women executives in Miami-Dade County. We had a graduation party, and then we also have individual Zoom sessions, whenever our students are in need. And I don't list on here how we support our staff, but we have a number of ways that we're supporting our staff, which, adds to the trust and morale of the company, because we have, weekly staff meetings where we support each other and give accolades to each other. We also have, our CEO has given us an extra 8 hours a week of PTO time during this time to really focus on taking care of ourselves and doing what we need to stay strong in order to stay supporting the students. We also have multiple, internal coaches that we have who are willing to do life coaching with staff, and coaches who are activity coaches, like yoga coaches and physical instructors who are leading daily workout regimes with our staff. So we're doing a lot both within our community to support our students and to support our staff. And that's, yeah, now we have our poll, and then that's the end. So, yeah, what ways do you think, or what ways have you continued to support your students during this time, either through regular virtual meetings or workshops, individual virtual meetings, emergency aid, graduation celebrations or end-of-year celebrations, or other? And again, as Kathy mentioned before, we'd love for you to include any other comments in the chat box.
Great. So folks, now is your time to vote in the poll. Getting some good responses. Individual virtual meetings right now is the lead, which again is pretty much what I would expect. Some of the other ways we're hearing support, arts mentorship was another one we heard from before. Phone and email outreach, laptop distribution, great. These are all great examples. Employment referrals, especially after the charts you shared earlier. That I think is becoming more and more critical. Okay, it's looking like voting is slowing down, so I'm going to go ahead and close that out and share. So yeah, regular and virtual group meetings, individual virtual meetings are kind of the leaders. Community resources with financial capability programs, great example. Florida Youth Shines, art material provided to youth, artists, great. Great, those are great examples.
Nice.
Yeah, okay.
Awesome.
Well, let me go ahead and hide those, and let's open it up for questions from you all. So please feel free to share your questions now. One of the things that you talked about earlier, Amy, let me go ahead and share my my video, is how building trust was such a key component of the work you do. And I know it's one of the things that Educate Tomorrow in particular is really good at, both with the students you serve and with the partners that you collaborate with. So can you talk a little bit more about how you've gone about building trust and or repair trust when something's happened?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kathy, for that question. I think, it's hard. We definitely, struggled at the beginning of our collaboration, even though we had already strong relationships. The idea of sharing student data is scary, right? There's a lot of legal things that make it really scary to share student data. So we had to work really hard to build trust through, of course, doing official MOUs and making sure that we had the legal backing to support our sharing. But then in terms of just our relationships and, even being willing to call someone up and say, hey, can you service this child? We had to, do a lot of things. One is seeing how the organization or the person works with your population. So, seeing evidence of success or stories from them that have been successful. That's a great way to build the trust. So a lot of what we did and still do in our collaboration meetings, we have monthly collaboration meetings. And so we have a lot of communication where we're in a space where we can, connect with each other. And we often share success stories. And so that, hearing someone else's success, oh, I want to be a part of that success, so let me join in that and send my child over there. Also, icebreakers, everyone kind of groans at those, but once you get past that and you understand that you were a child once too, and you can have some fun. It's okay to have a little fun and be silly. And so do some icebreakers and do something that, might make people have an experience that they're going to be able to talk about later. Oh, remember when, we played that game and so-and-so gave that great example. That builds an experience for people to talk about and then builds their relationships with each other. So that really helps to build the trust. And then two, I think that it's really important to highlight what people are good at and what they want to do. What they call that is job crafting, basically. So, I'm not going to call, for example, a lawyer and ask them to do educational work. That just doesn't make sense, So you want to make sure that what you're asking of people makes sense for what they are capable of doing and what they feel they have strengths in and what you've seen they have strengths in. So make sure that your asks match what people's abilities are. And then with that too, encourage people to challenge themselves and give people and organizations a way to step into a challenge and try something new, because it's often exciting and like really kind of riveting if you can build a new challenge and you succeed in it, and it's a safe space to succeed in. So you have to create that safe environment for the challenge, and then also create the space for it to be successful.
Great.
Those are some ideas.
So one of the quick questions that came through is, do you work with programs outside of Miami?
I guess I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have especially through our relationship. We actually have an Educate Tomorrow office at Florida Atlantic University. Let me just put that out there. And also through our contracted program, Positive Pathways of Florida, we Dr. C. Rios works with the assigned liaisons at the different colleges and universities to make sure that they have the tools that they need to work with our students. And there are different community collaboratives that we've been asked our expertise on, like our CEO has gone out to different counties to provide feedback. And so we do provide that additional support when asked, because we really want the work to be replicated. We're, getting all this information, we're receiving all this research and all this data, and we really want to make sure that this is working. So why not, promote it and have others do the same thing. And back to the question on trust, consistency. Number one, if you are consistent, your students will respect you to the end of their days. I promise you, I've seen it. It's really, you don't have to be a whiz kid. You don't have to have, a million supports. If you're just one consistent person, you have them. You have that trust.
And do what you say you're going to do. Yeah. For those who are not familiar with Positive Pathways, they have coordinated a statewide network of college success liaisons for students, foster youth alumni who are at our various campuses. So if you're not familiar with that, I encourage you to go to the Positive Pathways website, and we can put that in the show notes. One of the other questions Cecilia is asking is there anywhere they can learn more about Unite Miami? So I don't know if you have information about it on your website. If not, you might wanna
We
page.
Information about it on our website. I mean, you can reach out to us directly. It's really hard to pinpoint. That's another challenge, making sure we have the right wording for Unite Miami, but not also be inclusive with our non-formal partners, if that makes sense, because we work with so many organizations and the community. So it's kind of hard to kind of put it into a box. We don't like boxes. We're very.
Yeah, great.
You can
great.
see on our website, we do have our community resources listed. And so those are basically like our primary resources within Unite Miami. But you don't really get a sense of Unite Miami from that, because it's just like a linear list of resources. So yeah, please reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you individually about through the Positive Pathways Network, we can help to kind of form a Unite Miami in that area, and help you brainstorm how we can make that happen.
We also really connect with the Guardian Ad Litem program throughout the state, which is like one of our founders was a Guardian Ad Litem at the time. So the Gal Group, we heart you, and so they've been also given us the opportunity to work with different students that are from across the state.
Nice. Yeah, they are doing amazing work there. Okay, so we are wrapping up here. So for those of you who want to learn more about upcoming webinars, policy briefs, and promising practices, if you're not already subscribed, I encourage you to go to floridacollegeaccess.org/subscribe and do so. And that way we will make sure you hear about upcoming. We've actually had a few releases and some good news coming out lately and some good survey results as well. So I encourage you to do that. And finally, thank you so much, ladies, for not only all the things that you're doing for our students, but sharing, as you both shared earlier, collaboration is not the easiest thing to pull off, but in the long run, it's how you make a much, much bigger impact and really help set these students on a path to success. So thanks so much for your willingness to share the positives and where the growth edges are. We really appreciate your contribution here. So with that, thank you to all who called in today, and have an amazing rest of your week. And hopefully we'll see you at the next webinar. Take care, y'all.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks, everyone.